Well, we have a special treat today. We have one of our very own homegrown practitioners here that I want to tell you a little bit about. Ron Trunnell. He has been a member of New Vision Center for over 25 years. And as a matter of fact, he met his beloved Ken here in 1999. Ron and Ken moved away. They relocated up to Eugene, Oregon in 2016. But as we all know, once NVC, always NVC. So he has been actually serving our online community as the online host for many years. He's a practitioner since 2014, and he also serves a center in Eugene. It's called the Emerald Valley Center. And Ron will graduate from ministerial school in June of 2025. Yay! And we cannot wait to see his ministry blossoming and unfolding. Please help me welcome Ron Trunnell.
Thank you. Well, hello. All this planning, all this building, all this trying to let go of nerves and all of that. And I sit over here and half the room wants to get naked. And we're going to talk about authenticity today. And I promised this friend that I wouldn't tell this story. But if we have naked people here, I'm going to. There is a show on Max called Naked Attraction. Oh, you've seen it. And it is like a dating game. Those of you that are of a certain age remember that. But there's a screen in front of them, and the screen comes up to here, exposing that part of them fully naked. And someone gets eliminated. I know. And then it goes up, and you know, they're chatting about what they like, what they don't like, and all of this. And then they cover this part of the body, and then it comes up and shows the face. So these people are standing there, fully exposed, in a line of however many of there are that are left. And then as they pare down to two, the contestant, or the one that is doing the selection, has to go get naked. And then they meet, and they make their final selection of who they're going to go on a date with. And I know that seems like an odd story to tell. Well, not to you, but to anyone that might be watching for the first time. But I don't know about you, but can you imagine that level of authenticity? To show up to the world, here I am. So I say that because a lot of us live our lives thinking, I'm pretty authentic. I try to show up as I am. I'm not going on Naked Attraction, though. Right? So there's some growth. There's some letting go. There is some process that we have to allow to let go of these things that keep us playing a bit smaller. So think of this. Life has a lot of options, right? A lot of options. And yet here we are. Each one of us, in this life, at this time, in this socio-political environment, here we are. That can't be a coincidence. It has to be that we are here for a purpose. So in this season of celebrating everything, today we're going to celebrate our authentic selves and talk a little bit about how we might reveal more profoundly our authentic selves. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines authenticity as not false or imitation, real, actual, true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. And here's my favorite: made or done the same way as the original. So we are a unique expression of the one. You know, maybe you haven't read it, but Ernest Holmes wrote a whole book called The Science of Mind that keeps talking about the idea that we are one. Any idea of separation is false. And yet sometimes we use those false beliefs maybe to keep us safe, to allow us to feel a little more comfortable. But we can't escape the truth that we are all one. And we've heard the phrase that there's no snowflake, no two snowflakes that are the same. Notice this. My husband got it for me. But we don't really have a practical way of proving that, right? Who's going to go out there and start comparing snowflakes? So I did a little research, and according to the Library of Congress, sounds like a reasonable authority, the scientific consensus states that the likelihood of two large ice crystals, snowflakes, being identical is 0. 0. That seems pretty certain. I don't know of any time in my life where I've made a decision, well, maybe one, where there was 0 chance that I was mistaken or wrong or misunderstood. So there's the scientific explanation. What about the spiritual? We can use some words from Eric Butterworth that say there are no duplicates in the creation. Every snowflake, every blade of grass, every grain of sand, a unique design. In the same way, there has never been anyone, nor will there be anyone just like you. Never. Just like you. Never. That we are here to be our authentic selves. That we are meant to be unique. We are meant to be different. Not only to be true to ourselves. I mean, that's certainly one side of it, right? How many times have you said no to something because it brought up fear? I don't know if I do any good. What if I failed? What if they didn't like me? Or, on the other side of that equation, have you ever thought to yourself, being authentic, wow, they're a lot. I'm not purposely pointing to you two. And maybe you're thinking that right now. Right? But that is that call to say, what is it about them that makes me uncomfortable? Those of us in the rooms of recovery recognize that phrase that when I'm irritated, when I'm agitated, there's something wrong with me. There's a calling in me that is saying, hey, you're bothered by that because you're afraid to reveal that part of yourself. And so everything is a call. Everything is a call to authenticity. And so we think about that and we ask the question of, who are we not to shine? Who are we not to be our brilliant, unique selves? Marianne Williams' son, I always forget if there's a son, wrote about that. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen that. Who am I not to be magnificent? Who am I not to be fantastic? So it's never about trying to get someone else to dim their light. Just bring it down a bit so that I can be comfortable. It's about my rising up to meet that and to honestly look at what is it within me that is so triggered, so bothered, that I have the need to make that wrong. And, so many of us have these open minds. Our consciousness is high. And yet, I don't think that I'm the only one that still has to remember. That has to remember. And that's the call of life, isn't it? To continually remember and then make that choice again. That's right. We're one. Whoops, sorry about that. So where do we start with all of this? Now, there's a phrase around here, I don't know, maybe you've heard it once or twice. What might we do to anchor into our authentic selves? Anybody know the answer to that? Daily, substantial, spiritual practice. And it helps when you do this. It really just drives it home. And not by doing anything, right? But listening. Listening for that nudge. Maybe not so subtle nudge of what is ours to do. Setting down those fears of what if I'm not good enough and say, if this is mine to do, how can I fail? How can I not create a space that not only allows me to expand, but creates a space inviting others to do the same? Because none of us is here alone. We're all here together. And I think that is part of the divine plan. That as one of us can't see that authenticity, is unclear of what our authentic self is, we have others that already know, that are already anchored into that. Practitioners, ministers. We have a whole community to do that for us, don't we? But we have to look at that which we ignore. I read, I think it was Kay Fontana, for those that you know her. We went through practitioner training together here. She posted something on Instagram that said, the portal to the next level is on the other side of that which we ignore. Dang it. Right? I have sat there many times and heard someone say, we don't ignore the condition that we don't like. We turn, we recognize it, and we know that the truth is on the other side of that. We don't allow that to be our focus, but ignoring it doesn't get us to the other side of it. So Brené Brown has something to say about authenticity. It's the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. No longer are we tied to that idea of, when I get here, then I'll be okay. When this happens, then I'll be okay. Because you already are. You just can't help yourself. You already are. So I don't think, that our role in life is predetermined, that there is a set path for any one of us to take, and yet there is a distinct call forward through that which we try to ignore. I have a really cute story from a poet who happens to be a German poet, Kurt Kauter. You know of him? Oh. So, the story goes, tell me about the weight of a snowflake. A mouse asked a dove. The dove thought and said, nothing more than nothing. Nothing more than nothing was the answer. Well, in that case, I must tell you a marvelous story, the mouse said. I sat on the branch of a fir tree, close to its trunk, when it began to snow. Not a big snow, not a blizzard, but a gentle, quiet snow like in a dream, without any violence. Since I didn't have anything better to do, I counted the snowflakes that fell on the needles of the branch on which I was resting. The final number was 3,741,952. When the next snowflake fell, nothing more than nothing, as you say, the branch broke off. The dove thought about this for a while and said to herself, perhaps there is only one person's voice for peace to come about in the world. All it took was that one snowflake that in the scheme of things feels like nothing more than nothing to bring about the shift, to bring about the change, to allow the breakthrough. And so I ask you, do you not want to be the one to bring about peace in the world? Do you not want to create the path for the one that is going to create peace in the world? I think we'd probably all agree that, yeah, I want to be that. Again, the fact that we are here at this time, in this place, isn't by coincidence. We're brought here at this time to be our fully expressed, authentic self. So do you hear it? I mean, do you hear the call? I hear it. It's loud. Sometimes I have to turn up the car radio, right? Because it can be scary. But you're receiving the call because you're the one intended to receive the call. There's no coincidence. So in closing, a few things to consider. Show up. Show up physically if that's the best that can be done in that moment. That's fantastic. Show up. Be your unique, authentic self. Try it. Celebrate it today and every day. Be that missing piece of the puzzle that brings more love, more compassion, more peace. Be that 3,741,953rd snowflake. The world needs you. Fully expressed, just as you are, sometimes afraid, sometimes sad, sometimes bursting with joy. It's all okay because it's all who you are. It's all who we are. So, my final thought is that we can all shine That's why we're here. That's what's asked of us, to shine. And that, my friends, is something to celebrate. Your authentic self, our authentic self, being who we were brought here to be. And so it is. Thank you. So please join me in prayer as we anchor into that oneness that our founder Ernest Holmes talked so brilliantly about. And think about the ability to hide inside of a circle. There is no hiding in life. There is no need to hide in life. For we are life itself. That divine presence is imbued within each one of us. And so I bless the unique, magnificent, shining presence that we all are. And that each one of us continues day after day to have that opportunity to be that snowflake that creates that shift, that creates that opening, allowing the light to pour into the darkness. And I'm so grateful to know this truth. I'm so grateful for this community, knowing that simply by showing up, authentic selves have been revealed. And so I celebrate that. And so I know that as these words have been cast into that law, that it's already done in the mind of God. The perfection that we seek is already seeking us to be expressed through and as each one of us. And so I allow it to be. I allow it to unfold. I answer the call. Thank you, life. And I invite you to join me in this by saying together, and so it is.